Hello, everyone. First, we're going to talk today about the Chengdu Hunters' hunt for a new coach.
And then after that, we're going to be discussing some of the Tier 2 changes, discussion from Yiska, and then we also have Numlocked on the show joining us for today's episode.
Yeah, Numlocked will be sort of doing a rundown of all the topics here, meta-wise, Tier 2-wise, etc. in the Overwatch community. I'm Avast, this is Jayne, and welcome to Contested. Hello, everyone. We're once again live from the Frontier Communication Studio in Dallas, Texas. We're here, and we are prepared to do more Contested, I would say. I think it's been... You haven't been getting a lot of sleep, Jayne. You've been having a lot of construction.
There's construction happening, like, just on the other side of the wall of my bedroom. So it has been 6 a.m., like, on the dot, Sydney audience. The drill is just, like, they're just sitting there waiting, looking at their watch. It's like 6 a.m., it's like... And so... Yeah,
I respect it. That's alpha.
I am not going to make it through this episode. I'm just going to be like halfway through, you know. So you'll have to keep me entertained, keep the high energy up. So
well, we also have Numlock to help with that.
We do. So hopefully Numlock can keep us entertained with regaling his crazy journey. I feel like he's an investigative reporter who just kind of went behind
right up there
enemy
with Brad
lawns.
Rajani.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
investigative esports.
We really need to have like our version of the Pulitzer Prize for esports journalism within the Overwatch community. You'll have Sephi and Numlock.
There would be a good. That's a good one, actually. I like the idea of us awarding a journalistic prize, but I think by far the number one
it'd be like
frontrunner is Brad Rajani.
Yeah, now currently he's reporting on the.
We could call it the Brad Rajani Award for Esport Journalism,
and then award it
to Brad
Rajani.
It's the perfect play.
Man, we are just trendsetters here in the Frontier Communication Studio.
Our synapses are firing like never before.
Well, at least yours are. Mine are a little bit slow today.
That's okay. We gotta slow it. It's like hot. It's the mix and match, the yin yang.
The yin and yang.
Yeah, we have slow and we have fast, and together we create medium. Middling.
I'm trying so hard to come up with a segue.
It's okay. We don't need a segue. We don't need a segue because before we start and do our interview with Numlocked, we have to do Popping Off, presented by Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box popping off. Of course, you know what play it is. It's EQO on Rialto. This is anabolic, high testosterone gaming, where EQO on the Genji, pushing an OT to get the first cap, is going to take down three members of the Paris Eternal, gets 2 picks early in the neutral fight, brings out the blade, finds some more, gets the returning tracer, allowing Fusion to get the first cap on Rialto. And quite possibly what might have been the most hype moment in Overwatch in a long time.
Very long time.
An incredible moment here. And that has been the Poppin' Off presented by Jack in the Box.
I do love that play. I think one of the most anxiety-inducing things about that play is when he runs out of ammo and he's just meleeing over and over to get that final kill because he doesn't want to spend the time really. If that character was getting just a little bit of healing, how many times would he have just kept being like, melee? I mean, it's a valid strategy, right? Because you're reloading, it is absolutely,
right?
But man, it's just like, even when you're trying to melee a person twice, when you're playing Genji or something, the person's still not dying, or on Trace, the same sort of thing where you just feel like an idiot. You're like, die, please. Just like, But worked, and then he gets the blade and pops
It was a really incredible moment. I think EQO has sort of showed that style. A lot of people have dove into the specifics, and we haven't really talked about as much, but there was definitely a varying styles of Genji at play during the Summer Showdown. And EQO was very much more of a reserved, like he was the neutral Genji. He was like, I'll pop blade when I need it. I'm not really a blading type of Genji.
Yeah.
Well, and was very measured in how they set up their cooldowns for him. While Sparkle was like, screw it, I'm going in. I'm gonna dash through 4 tanks, and I'm gonna just go, and I'm gonna continue to build blade as fast as possible and just go high explosive.
EQO originally, because if I'm remembering, it was either EQO's very first performance or very early on when EQO first came in as kind of like a nobody. People didn't know who he was. He was he's an Israeli player, I believe, isn't he?
But he has a Latin American background.
Yeah, so he wasn't a very well-known player when he came to the Overwatch League. But then I remember on Hanamura, he came in on his Genji, and he had a very different Genji style than everybody else. Even back then, he had this kind of play style where he didn't really wait for these big explosive moments to try and get team kills. He would just like, if he saw an opportunity to get like 1 kill for it, he would use it, confirm that kill, and then just roll from there. So yeah, even back then, EQ had a little bit of a different style in the Genji, but it was very pronounced difference between him and Sparkle.
It was interesting to see that. It's nice to see it back, and there's been a whole host of articles and VOD reviews and everything about it, but there's just a lot of ways to set up the Genji, and EQO did it in a very flashy way. That was an incredible play. I think everyone was hyped for it. Our viewership was higher for Summer Showdown than it had been in a while on average, because what was it, peaked 89?
Peaked 81.
81.
And it averaged just over 50,000,
Yeah.
which are great
Which is
numbers
good.
compared to what we've seen for the rest of the season. I'm just like, we're on YouTube, of course, so we don't need to rehash the entire discussion, but not only is it going to be a lot higher viewership, but you're also seeing a lot of comments in the fact that this was, I think, some of the most exciting Overwatch that we've seen.
Well, let's be honest. People just like watching Genji.
Yeah.
People just like watching Genji.
Who really cares if Genji's a little bit overtuned? I could really I could totally do with a few more weeks of just seeing really skilled Genji players murder everyone. I'm going to use my one for the day. Fuck game balance. Just show me Genji blades.
There's this 1F. Keep track.
I didn't use one last week.
Yeah,
so.
you didn't. I guess you've carried over, but it's rolled over.
I can't tell if we have a rollover plan or not. We'll talk to the censors.
But it is really exciting to see Genji be back, and there's all sorts of things, opinions circulating about what we Genji. We have our own opinions about Genji, but I think an interesting person to weigh in on it is someone whose team benefited a lot from Genji, which is Numlocked from the Toronto Defiant, and we have Numlocked here today to sort of give some insights into the Toronto Defiant currently, thoughts on the meta, where they feel that Overwatch League is at, and so I think he's here and he's ready to go. Numlocked,
Numlocked, can you hear us?
Hello, yeah, I hear you guys. What's up?
Hey! Welcome to the show. I can't believe that anybody actually agrees to come on and talk to us in this day and age, but welcome. We appreciate you coming on. How you doing today?
I'm real good, thanks. How are you guys?
I'm good. I mean, Jane didn't believe that the picture I posted of you was your Twitter profile picture.
Yeah, is there a story behind you being in what I think is a lobster costume?
It's so awkward when people ask me because there's literally no story behind it.
So you just dress up in lobster costumes for fun?
I mean, it's a crab costume. It's a crab costume, but yeah.
Okay.
It's
a crab, it's a crab, not a lobster, and that's more important to us because crab is a much more gamer culture emote
exactly
and image in general.
So if there's no story about the actual crab suit, then you're gonna have to instead tell us about the story of the Toronto Defiant and your guys' probably best performance of the year so far with your 2 victories. So instead of just asking any particular questions, do you want to walk us through kind of your recollection of what happened this weekend and why things went so well for you guys?
I think it was a combination of a couple of things. Like one, obviously the meta was really good for us, and then the second, I think we like when I joined the team, the idea was that it would bring a bit more leadership and a bit more I guess of a relaxed environment in the middle of these matches where it's normally quite high stress for people and people are quite nervous. And the week prior to this, the entire week leading up to it, to the tournament, we decided to put more emphasis on me being in control of things in the game. So all the kind of calling that you would normally have in the game was done by me. And that kind of alleviated the pressure on other people a lot more, and gave them more room to play and be relaxed and not feel as much pressure. So I think that really helped us and kind of set us up in a really good way to explode.
So I actually had a question about that, Numlock. So your original trajectory with the Toronto Defiant is you were signed as a coach, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I thought I was supposed to be the one asking sensitive questions.
I mean, it's not a sensitive question. I feel like it's a good question. I mean, do you consider this sensitive?
I mean, it's kind of weird when a player or an individual staff comes in as a coach and then very quickly replaces the player that I guess from an external perspective it would look like your job was to coach, and it only happened. You were only a staff member for how long? It was only a couple of weeks, if my memory serves.
Well, if that.
Not even that. It was
not even that, right?
I think I was originally brought under the guise of being a coach, but I don't think that was ever really their intentions based on how quickly the conversation turned to me playing.
So they want. What can you share about that? What was the conversation, and how did it shift from signing on to the Toronto Defiant as a coach to then taking over as a player, and now, as you say, kind of leading the team?
So I was originally told that they wanted me as a coach, which then very quickly, within a couple of days, became maybe we want you as a coach / player as well. So we have you on a coaching contract, but then maybe we'll have you play on one of those temporary contracts,
Yeah.
And then they had me within the first week of me trying as a coach, they had me scrimming as well. And then after I think 3 or 4 days of scrimming, they said, actually, we'll just give you a player contract.
Well,
Well,
hey,
I mean, that's it.
NumLock saying, "Fine, I'll do it myself." You know, and he's walking.
If you want
in
to
there.
do it right, sometimes you got to do it yourself.
And I think that's it's a really great arc for you, NumLock, because so you talked about you've been much more of a leadership role, and that's sort of what was one of the big factors leading into this tournament for the Summer Showdown was that you were much more in charge of the team. You came out there with your strong British voice, and you said, "Listen, we're gonna do it my way, okay? I'm Creation Esports NumLocked." And I'm going to wasn't it Creation? Wasn't that
Yeah, it's Creation Esports. I'm not sure that's a throwback anyone's gonna.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna remember
no.
that. But
I don't even remember.
I just find it funny to make references to the past like that.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a very cool arc because you also made a fire tweet to Valiant saying I was forgotten on the bench as well for season 1. And as a fellow bench boy, I felt that. I felt that big from NumLock. That's why I was big ups to NumLock.
That was the boys. That's the boys.
Yeah. It was big. So really a big thing though was that you are much more of a leader for this team now. You came in for the Summer Showdown and you sort of made a lot of decisions in terms of, I imagine, like how you're using ult engages, what plays you're doing, like anything like that. You're just the calm leader pretty much for Defiant and Summer Showdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we have been speculating since day one that Toronto Defiant has been more of what we would say like a player-run team, or where the players kind of decide on the strats, the tactics, these sort of things. Can you confirm or deny that is the case and settle kind of a long-standing just assumption that we've had about the team? How is the team run? Is it very player-centric making decisions, or is the staff kind of calling the shots on the inside of things? Is that something you can even share with us?
I wouldn't say it's player-run, but it's very like round table in the sense that, obviously everyone has kind of their say, and it's like an open discussion on the way we're gonna do things. We try stuff out early on, figure out what works, and then go on that.
Very collaborative, open source type of stuff. Which makes sense. I mean, I feel like that's definitely because your current coaching staff now is Mangachu and is it Askoft or is it Little Bow? I always forget. I mix them up.
Little Bow and Barrow as well.
Little Bow, yeah. Because aren't they both French? I always mix them up. They're French Lucios, and I constantly get them confused, like all the time. So yeah, that makes sense for looking from the inside there. And you also mentioned when you came on is that when we look at your results improved dramatically as Defiant for the Summer Showdown when we looked at the meta, because it's Genji meta, obviously.
So you have agilities
and a lot about Genji there. And then you guys come in and you beat both Valiant, who was looking to be a pretty strong team, and then Rain as well in a pretty close matchup. So do you feel like you said earlier that you think the meta helped you a lot moving into the Summer Showdown?
Yeah. What patch was it actually? Because I know we lost to Rain like 3-0. Like 2 weeks ago.
The patch you lost to Rain on was before the Genji buffs, I believe.
Before the Genji buffs,
it was the 20th. I don't even.
Yeah, I think the Genji buff definitely like really.
The Genji buff was definitely after
issues.
because it's a definitive shift because you definitely were not playing agility. I don't think you were playing agility's Genji at the time.
I remember he played in the Fuel game.
Yes, maybe. But either way, still, you would still argue, regardless of the archives. The point is that the meta currently in its form in the Summer Showdown, you would say the Genji meta helped you guys a lot moving into it.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, with the Rain game, the Fusion game at least. Well, with Fusion it was the first team up, so I think the third can be written off. But the first team ups, I feel like it wasn't like there wasn't much separating us both. Like it could have gone either way. Still, I think there wasn't much in it. And then with Valiant, I think we also got lucky that they have their own things going on.
Mm-hmm.
So you do think that the win against Valiant was a little bit lucky in that, if they weren't having those problems, it would have been a closer game, or do you think you still could have pulled out the dub with everything else going on?
I still think we would have pulled out the dub. Like, I felt really good that week.
And what was so after you got those 2 victories, of course, morale is always going to be high and momentum as well. But the Philadelphia Fusion are obviously an extremely good team, and it was a 3-0, not in your favor, unfortunately. What was the mood after the Philadelphia Fusion match? Was it still high spirits? Was it, did you learn a lot from that game? So compared to those first 2 wins, how did the game against the Philadelphia Fusion change things?
It was definitely high spirits. I don't think anyone was coming into it expecting it to be anything other than an uphill battle. But we were for sure definitely happy with the progress already for that weekend. And I think like I said about the first 2 months, I think it's shown already that we've made really good progress that week, and that we can compete. And we can push ourselves up to like middle of the pack and beyond. We're not where we are right now.
That's good. I mean, it's important to have that because I've, as much as fun it is to be a Redditor Randy, and always be like, oh, these teams are so bad. Like, no one enjoys teams not performing up to their potential, because like, as much as it's fun to be negative, it's like, it's always good. And as someone that's obviously, met you before and knows Lane Roberts very well, and like the Toronto Defiant crew, like, it's good to see that you guys are sort of on an upswing, and I hope you do continue that momentum. And also, while you're here, Numlocked, we're not only going to be talking about the Toronto Defiant, because you're you're an Overwatch aficionado, as they say. You've been around a long time.
I know a couple of
You're
things.
an esport professional. So we do have a variety of other topics that we'd like for you to weigh in on. And the first one, it's like, and obviously if you don't feel comfortable answering it, saying like, I don't know as much as I whatever, then sure, that's fine, because we have enough hot air to blow between the two of us that we can fill up the space. But the first topic is sort of, Hunters are looking for a new coach currently. And Hunters, have been kind of wacky and crazy in the APAC division. They've done a lot of weird things in the year before, and maybe not as weird now, which is weird in a different way in this year. And sort of that leading question, Numlocked, is where do you feel the current gap is between NA and the Asia region currently? Like, if you were to go out to Asia and compete, like, do you think there really is that big of a gap, or is it more of just a storyline that's been pushed forward?
I think it's just a storyline that's been pushed forward. Like, it's the same issue that has existed like pre-AL, where it was always NA versus EU versus Korea. Everyone thinks their own region is the best, and then suddenly they compete versus each other, and that bubble is instantly burst because one is just way ahead of the other.
I see. Now, while I am going to make a quick quip on that, I will say that only one region thought they were really good and got their bubble burst, and that would be EU at the Atlantic Showdown.
Are you telling me that Eagle Gaming is not the best team that has ever played Overwatch?
Hey, technically, Nico was on Eagle Gaming.
He
Paris
was.
won.
True.
I don't think it was ever us that pushed that though. Like, because I remember the same thing happened with British Hurricane during the Goats Mare, and like everyone pushed that like British Hurricane would beat like every Korean team they would, and they'd be just the best, and like potentially even upset Fusion. And then we went to Atlantic Showdown, and I don't know what happened. I don't even want to remember what happened.
I remember what happened.
Bad.
I casted those games. I remember what happened. I remember having I remember certain British Hurricane members getting very, very, as they say in the UK, pissed afterwards. Not pissed as in angry. Pissed. Well, both angry, but also quite drunk.
Both. Yeah.
But also quite drunk.
Oh, pissered. Yeah.
Pissered. Is it pissered?
I think so, isn't it?
Is it
It's
pissered?
definitely not. It's definitely not.
It's okay. See, he says it's definitely not. Numlock says it's not.
No?
So,
Oh, yeah. Well, Canadian thing, I guess.
yeah, Canada, it's more of like an off-brand British. So not quite the same. But okay, so pretty much
Did you just call me off-brand British?
yeah, you're
That is the most insulting thing someone has said
it's
to me.
off-brand. You're the generic. You're different from the name brand.
You could be off-brand Americans. I think that'd be worse.
Yeah, that's fair. So your opinion though is that the Asia region and the Americas, it's a very slim gap to no gap, and it's really like if we had cross-regional play, it would be much more competitive than what is proposed.
Yeah, I think so for sure.
Okay. And also leading into our original thing then about the Hunters, as a professional player that, you obviously see other teams and see other perform, and from Hunters from last year and stuff like that. What do you feel about Hunters as a team? Because myself, I propose, I think Hunters don't know how to play Overwatch, and like that's why they're looking for a new coach. Like,
I think the issue they have at the moment is that their creative playstyle is kind of limited by hero pools. I think it puts a much tighter gap on what you can get away with running, which isn't meta,
Mm-hmm.
That is the nicest way that anybody has.
But the
used
thing,
to
the
do
interesting
it.
part is that they haven't been running creative hero pools really nearly as much, even though they had the option to. They could have been playing like Jinmu, like Genji.
Yeah,
earlier.
they play Genji when he's not popular, and as soon as Genji becomes popular, they're like, you know what? It's popular now, so we're not gonna. We're not gonna. We're the evil toaster of teams. Yeah, we're the evil toaster of teams.
So
we really are just leaning right into that streamer drama now that PvP's back. Right?
So that's why I'm just like wondering from like an outside perspective, from like a coach that was really gonna be a coach and is now a player. Do you feel like it's more of a coaching decision for them that like why they're not running some of their wackier comps now, even if they had the option to, like the Jinmu Genji?
I mean, you asked me earlier if trying to find out a player and team, and it might not be the case that it's coach specific for Chengdu. Like, there's a lot of inner workings for teams that means that decision could come from anywhere and could be influenced by anyone. So it's hard to point fingers from the outside.
True.
Yeah, and of course, like Coach Rui or Ray, he worked with the Chinese national team during the World Cup and had some great results. And he's, of course, the guy who, when he was around, was the architect, I would say, of some of the more creative comps and just allowing a team to play so off book compared to how every other team in the league really did it. And he stepped back from the team in November of last year due to health issues. So since then, there have been 2 kind of co-head coaches who have come in. And did you actually see the ongoings on Weibo that basically their fan base has been rioting and they've finally decided to go and look for new head coaches for the team? Yes. Yeah. So the fan base of Chengdu is very much not happy at the coaches, and the pressure has been enough that Chengdu is looking for new coaching staff.
Such is life in the Overwatch League universe.
Such is life.
Such is life. But for the next topic, for NumLock to give his credence, is that you are a player that has spent a good amount of time in the Contenders system. You were in the Overwatch League year 1, but really, like myself, how much were you in Overwatch League year 1?
Oof.
But that's like me.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, see, the difference is NumLock played you got to play 2 more matches, but it's like still forgotten.
Yeah, but I wish I didn't.
You wish what?
I wish I didn't. I got to play 1 map. It's a weird experience because I got told 10 minutes before the 1 map I was going to play.
Oh, was it like a pity map?
Yeah, it was a pity map. Yeah,
pity map. I told it's real.
You got
it's
offered
real.
a pity map too.
And I said it's 100% real, isn't it?
Take
NumLock?
your
the pity
pity
map
map
is totally
and
real.
shove it.
I really didn't want to do it, but they kind of just it was like it was weird. It was forced upon us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, would your opinion, looking back, looking back to NumLock, would you have chosen to be in Overwatch League Season 1, or would you have just stayed in Contenders?
No, I wouldn't. I'd have stayed in Contenders.
100% not.
Yeah. Going back to Contenders was it was that, or because I know there were other players that maybe decided they were too good for Contenders and wanted to wait out for Overwatch League and maybe didn't get back to it. I feel like playing Contenders was the best decision I could have made.
Which, to be fair, I kind of agree with because Season 1, I mean, if you're perma-benched, you're kind of just owned. Which is why it's so impressive now that you are back in the position with the Toronto Defiant and leading the team. I think it's a lot of perseverance that you've had, which is what leads us to our other topic about Contenders. Would you like to ask the question?
Yeah, we were talking in the pre-show. I'm not sure if it's pre-show or the start, but we were kind of calling you like a guy behind enemy lines. Really, after your kind of stint with the Los Angeles Valiant, you didn't give up. I think you're probably one of the most, if not most resilient players that I know, at least in terms of your storyline. Went through Contenders, ground for a very long time, stuck it out, and now you're back and doing great things and just had some recent results. So that's got to feel really good. But the journey, I think, has been arduous maybe. And I wanted you to kind of walk us through the story of the journey, I guess, leaving Overwatch League and then, being in Contenders and having to work your way back. Just tell us that story. Take it away, dude.
I mean, so when Overwatch League Season 1 finished, and I, spoke to my agent about getting some tryouts for some teams, I had maybe 3 Overwatch League tryouts, and obviously, no one was really interested in me. I hadn't scrimmed at all that year, really, so I was just really rusty. Wasn't playing as good as I could have been, and ended up trying for a couple of other teams. And the last team I ended up trialing for was British Hurricane, and luckily, they were really desperate for a main tank at the time because there's just been called up Fusions, had just been called up to NA Contenders. So they didn't have much of a choice and kind of went with me. And honestly, had I not been picked up by then, I probably wouldn't still be playing Overwatch because there wasn't really any teams left that needed a tank. And honestly, I've just been kind of really lucky since then with good teammates that wanted it as much as I did. I've had really good results in Contenders. I think 2019 I came second in EU Contenders and first in NA Contenders, and I lost I think 1 series of Overwatch in Contenders in those 2 seasons. It's the hard work's been there and the results have been there, and I've just been I think it's both a bit of hard work and luck because I'm 27 years old now. There's not too many teams that are interested in someone of my age, even with the experience I have and the results I've had.
Does that make you the oldest? I'm thinking about it. What was the oldest player before?
I know Harry Hook's older than me now.
Harry Hook?
Harry Hook's older than me, yeah. I think he's 28 or 29.
28 maybe, yeah.
Ancient.
Mm-hmm.
Basically
also
dead, 1 foot in the grave.
Neptuno as well apparently is 28, I believe.
Oh yeah, he's older than me as well.
But still, you're on the boomer side of the player.
I'm the boomer, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the boomer, which is crazy.
Coolmat was also
but Coolmat's now the GM of Houston.
I mean, that's why after Montreal, I was close to just kind of giving up with Overwatch. I'd gotten to the point where I was in talks with a couple of game devs about working with them. like and just quitting being a pro player altogether, which was really difficult for me to do because I've been a pro player since I was 16 years old.
Wow.
So it's kind of like all I've known my adult life, and it's kind of like my identity, you know. So not doing that anymore was like a real big deal for me. And obviously Montreal got dropped due to COVID, and then it looked like no teams were picking up players or coaches. So I was kind of like, well, I guess that's it for Overwatch then. And then, like I think a month, 2 months maybe later, I'm talking with Toronto.
So it was sort of out of the blue for Toronto to reach out for you. It wasn't like a previous dialogue at all.
Not really. I mean, they kind of picked me up for Montreal because they were interested in me. You know, moving up from there, because obviously Toronto's academy team was Montreal Rebellion. Yeah. But there was never any like, hey, you know, we want you here so that we can, you know, work towards pushing you up to the main team. It just kind of happened, and not really quickly as well, all real quick.
That is sometimes how it goes in the Overwatch League.
I do want to circle back to one of the things you were saying. So when you got onto the British Hurricane, you said that hard work and results are kind of what allowed you to get noticed and get back into the Overwatch League. The hard work we can understand, but the results part of thing, how much of the ownership did you take over the results of the team? You obviously had experience not only in the early days of Overwatch, but again, kind of experiencing the higher pace of play with Los Angeles Valiant and in the Overwatch League itself. And we had Wheats on the show last week, the assistant coach for the Vancouver Titans, and he kind of said that one of the biggest differences between the Overwatch League and Contenders was tempo, or the pace of play. Everything is faster. It moves quicker, else happen, faster. The fights happen faster. Just everything's faster. The tempo is a higher pace. Yeah. How much did you try and use your previous experience or try and coach the rest of your people on your team to kind of bring them up closer to Overwatch League standards, or it was around doing your role the best that you could? Kind of how did you approach that into British Hurricanes to make sure that you would get results on the team?
I was quite lucky that the meta at the time was goats, because I'm quite an aggressive Reinhardt in general. So I joined the team and ended up taking on the kind of insane leadership role I have now with Toronto. Mm-hmm. And so within goats, having that role as Reinhardt, they went hand in hand quite well together. So it is quite easy to have everyone on that sort of same page, because it was just like, okay, this is how we're going to have this fight. And then middle of the fight, I'm calling targets aggressively, I'm calling positioning, like kiting forward, kiting backwards. And everyone was kind of just same page and listening. And it was really easy to just kind of slot that kind of play style into it.
Well, final question then about Contenders, and then we'll move on to another topic, is, so recently, an article came out from the venerable journalist Yiska.
Man, you make me want to reach for that word of the day.
I know you want to. I know you want to get it.
We're in an interview, but I want to ring that boy.
But an article came out talking about proposed Contenders changes, and I'll read some of them, and then we'll have you give your thoughts as someone that's been in the system now and had to work their way out. So, because generally people that have recently left the system have a much better idea than those that have what I would describe as the ivory towers of Overwatch League that never had to leave. So some of the proposed changes, which are, they're going to have a draft system of players with captains, and in addition, they'll have like neutral
reading the article. I was already mad. at this point reading it.
Oh, okay.
Go off.
I mean, like it kind of defeats the whole purpose of what the tier 2 system is supposed to create. Like, Overwatch isn't a single player game where one person is going to be the standout all the time. And so constantly, I feel like constantly changing it up makes it harder to create a bond and teamwork. That is what carries a lot of these teams through Contenders. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can make the argument that it can show off people that are able to create those bonds and that leadership and gel teams together like quicker. But at the same time, you also lose what tier 2 had lost and was hoping to regain. In the sense of, maybe some teams coming back, maybe academies coming back, a way to earn money and stay in Contenders.
Well, they did say that the players would still keep the prize money and everything, and they also wanted to encourage like more third-party tournaments in the system anyways. But because I always find it odd, and you can give your opinion on this as well, as a player that recently in the system, I find it odd that a lot of people push back on these changes, because once again, these are not confirmed changes for everyone in chat. These are not confirmed. We have no idea. This is just a leak article of sorts from Yiska.
Yeah,
we have no concept.
And even the leak isn't of changes that are going to happen. They were being proposed for discussion.
Proposed changes, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people that have been in tier 2 or are currently in tier 2 have said like, well, this removes the point of tier 2, removes teams and stuff, but teams don't matter because no one picks up whole teams. It's always individual players.
Yeah, especially when a lot of these teams
aren't all the teams aren't they already rendered useless to begin with, Numlocked?
I mean, in a sense, but then I saw a tweet from someone that kind of it brought up a point that you could have someone like Kevster who was in Overwatch League and who was in Contenders, and was clearly like head and shoulders above Contenders for a long time. That hadn't moved up for whatever reason. Imagine someone like him teaming up with Billy42 or whoever, like Billy just 42. Made it out of trials, new to Contenders.
Mm-hmm.
So, someone like Kevster might not really shine and might not have the chance to move to where he should be because he's stuck on a team like that.
I see. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? It's just I always found it odd that the angle of like, well, this removes teams when it's like, and then everyone's like, Vancouver? And it's like, yeah, that's a really typical example. Vancouver's a real, that happens all the time. 100%.
And even then, that's why I was saying that even the very successful Contenders rosters, like Second Win, for example, they have, or even Team Doge, a lot of them have players on their team which are critical to the success of those teams that are under 18, which makes it, even if orgs could, like, theoretically pick them up, though there's a lot of players who just can't even play in the league who are part of these successful rosters in Contenders. So there's a lot of reasons. Like, you can say that Vancouver is probably the closest thing to having a full Contenders roster picked up, but as Avast said, it doesn't happen all the time.
And also,
even
it was
like still a mismatch.
That wasn't like the goal. The original goal of the Titans, they were not like, guys, what if we drop our roster halfway through the season and pick up a Contenders roster? Right? Like, that was never
support tag 2, hashtag tier 2.
That was never the goal, right? Well, and here's some of the other changes too that I like to hear your opinion on is that, so they also wanted to have like a duo system. Supposedly was like tank, DPS, and support duos that enter, and these captains like draft the teams that are neutral branding, and they compete week to week under these new systems that are put together by these duos. Like, if you were a player participating in that system, like how would you feel about that? What would be your impression going in for something like that?
So tank, support, and DPS.
Just everything would be a duo. Everything would be a duo.
They'd sign up as like a main tank, off tank, or flex support, main support. It'd be like.
Oh, okay. So you could choose any role to couple up with.
Yeah.
Well, not any role. No, not any role. You would a tank role.
Like, so just like the 2-2-2 roll lock.
Okay.
So like DPS duos would be entered into the draft. Support duos of main support, flex support be in the draft, and then off tank, main tank would be a duo entered into the draft.
These are definitely creative suggestions honestly, for discussion.
Maybe this isn't going to be a popular take, I guess, but I wouldn't be completely opposed to that because, like, probably one of my favorite like duos I've played with throughout Overwatch has been Happy-Cool, and I've played with him for like a year and a half.
Too. Keep going, Numlocked.
I played with him for like a year and a half, so he's always been someone that I've wanted to play with. Like, originally Envy only wanted me, but I said I want to play with Happy, and then Happy ended up getting brought on as well. And yeah, he's just someone that I click with in Overwatch, and that we both kind of think about the game in the same way. We both have similar play styles, and our hero pools complement each other really well. So I wouldn't be completely opposed to that. Like, if that was a thing, like, I'm sure we would end up entering that together. And I'm sure there are a lot of other players in similar situations that would enter that.
It is refreshing to see an argument that goes against the populist sentiment and also seems well reasoned. So,
I mean, to be fair, I don't really agree with it still, because Numlocked, I don't consider you a typical example simply because you've been around so long, and like you knew Happy as well from TF2, and like you guys just been together for 8. Like, because like imagine Numlocked, let's say let's take you back 5 years, and it's like you're 22 years old, you've entered a contender system the first time, and then Blizzard comes to you and is like, so who's your tank duo? Numlocked?
Yeah, so it's definitely a very
your career is attached to this person. Who's it gonna be?
Hey man, networking's a skill.
Yeah, I mean it is. But the point is, I think it defeats like my goal is like Numlocked is definitely an atypical example because you've been playing with Happy for so long. You've known Happy for so long. You're an esport veteran. You played other games other than Overwatch. You played TF2. You played League. Yeah. So like you're sort of used to being kind of a professional guy.
Yeah.
But if you're like, if I'm 18-year-old like PewDisPow72 or whatever.
These are the best gamer
this
tags.
guy, Billy, he just said, what is it, Billy72 or whatever? Billy42? That's a name.
Don't you dare disrespect Billy42.
So the purpose here is that, like, I feel like if you're a young player that and Overwatch is their first esport and Contenders is their first experience, it would be really hard to, like, form that connection innately.
And there is also a couple good points being thrown around in the chat right now. That first of all, how would you find good coaches, or actually how would coaches get more experience?
Well,
not just
that's
the coaches, but like
issue.
groups like Skyfoxes, for example, have had a lot of their players or staff members get promoted into the Overwatch League on the other side of things, like social media management, graphic design. So like tier 2 system isn't just for the players, it's also staff and coaches. And that system would remove that ecosystem, yes.
It changes that a lot.
But there's also just a problem where, like, sometimes good players just don't gel together, and the team, like, for whatever reason, that should be a lot higher level than it isn't there. Like, Gladiators are a good example right now where, you know, they've got so many good individually talented players on their roster, but for whatever reason, it's not working out and they're struggling. That sort of situation could arise from this draft where you get a bunch of good players together and then it just doesn't work, and those players look a lot worse than they potentially could have on a more structured team, or like on different teams that have been, you know, figured out by coaches.
Well, maybe we could just run a version of this tournament and see what it'd be like.
But the thing is that running one-off tournaments is not a good indicator of anything because it's a one-off tournament.
Yeah.
I
think
like,
as
what
a one-off
happens,
tournament,
like,
it would be fun. It would be fun as a one-off
Yeah, it would
tournament.
be fun, but it still would not be. It's not some sort of grand experiment.
It's not a proper replication of an ecosystem. I get what you're saying.
Well, no, but if they came out with saying that this is, you know, a one-off tournament, I'm sure there wouldn't be as many heated comments about it.
Yeah, it changes up the dynamic a lot. So overall, in summary, then, like, hearing like a draft system, maybe, like, because also they've proposed that they've already put out there publicly that some regions like OC and stuff, they're sort of like cutting, or not OC but APAC, they're cutting a lot of the there's not even an official Contenders program for APAC anymore. They're just trying to shift it very heavily into third-party TOs running it. So with all that considered in the draft system, the duo system, like, your thoughts, if you were to say, like, would you say that's mostly positive, mostly negative? Is there positive and negative in both? Like, how would you feel overall about, like, that article?
Draft good, duos bad. No, other way around. Draft bad, duos good. There you go.
Draft bad, duos good. Numlocked 2020.
Yeah.
I think it's eloquent.
Words to live by.
Hey, why use many word when few word do trick?
Exactly.
Why?
And you've also, I assume, seen the other Contenders changes where some regions, like he was saying, do a tournament format, some do a league format, or some doing a hybrid format. Where are you which ones do you prefer? Which of the Contenders region systems?
I really liked the long, the one that was in place in 2019, where just long seasons, no relegation threat, like mid-season.
Regular season.
I enjoyed regular
season gamer, huh?
Knew you would love that.
Okay. So explain why.
We just need to have. This is why we need to have, like, our namesake, a contested one-on-one segment. We need to have you guys score off. Gloves on.
You're throwing gasoline to the fire. I have to hear I have to hear Seb's response. Let's hear it.
Ding, ding, ding,
I
ding,
just,
ding.
in Contenders, I just enjoyed the structured play in Contenders where you knew who you were playing. There was no pressure outside of, you know, oh, maybe we get relegated this week if we don't do well enough. We need a certain amount of points. It was just play your games and focus on that.
Avast,
I will say I don't enjoy that for Owl.
You don't enjoy that for Owl?
No, I really like the tournaments for Owl.
But for Contenders, where there's like 200 people watching and no stakes, you're like, this is the way, buddy.
I'm all for
Your
it.
hair is falling out as we speak.
Yeah, I'm molding. I mean, but I actually, so mainly your point is that you like the stability of, like, you need a certain number of points to get the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So couldn't you just accomplish that same thing with the tournament system?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, no.
Okay, see, that's fair. See, you're trying to incite.
Numlocked, you're supposed to say no.
You're trying to incite.
Resort to rhetoric, Numlocked. Don't give in.
See, that's a reasonable take. It's like, I agree. I think the concept, you need to have some sort of stability, but you also and you need to have, like, a threshold. But do not beat my skull with regular season games in my eyes and ears. I just prefer to just have a circuit of tournaments where, like, everyone plays off.
But what does Av think?
Av's not in the office today.
Av is unfortunately
Av's
not
in
in
the office today. He's not here.
I wish I want to hear Av's opinion.
Okay, so we've heard the Contenders changes. We've heard the Venerable. I'm going to use it again. Seb Barton's thoughts on all of those. And sort of another meaty topic that people love to talk about and that everyone gets a buzz and fury filled is the current state of the meta. And so we talked about a bit how Genji, you felt, helped you guys in the Summer Showdown, and it changed a lot of how the meta interacted. But also just beyond Genji, double shields is a super big topic of like, where does double shields fit in Overwatch? Is it boring as hell? Is it really lame? Is it actually a lot more? Is it a lot deeper than people really think? Is Orisa a character that's healthy or bad for the meta? Sort of Numlocked as a main tank player, what do you feel about double shields and its current state in Overwatch?
So within a competitive professional setting, I enjoy it. I have quite a bit of fun with like the leadership role that I play as Orisa, and the way the fights work out. They're not like, especially at least now, this double shield isn't as bad because there's a lot more brawling. But you know, previous double shield metas where it's been Ash Hanzo maybe, or like double sniper, just a lot more poke. I would rather uninstall Overwatch than participate in those.
So you're saying that the instant vaporization because that was also like BAP Zin a lot of the time, I believe.
You just kind of die. You just kind of die.
Yeah.
You just kind of instant die.
Yeah, I remember seeing a lot of the tweets that you put out where you would like turn a corner, in Fortify, drop a shield, your shield would be instantly gone, and you'd also instantly die even through Fortify.
Yeah, it's like that. No one has fun playing that. Not even the people that are doing the killing on me.
So, but the current brawl style you find to be a little bit more fun.
Well, in a professional competitive setting, yes.
Yeah.
I, again, when it comes to normal rank play, would rather uninstall Overwatch and not play it.
Do you think that double shield then is an overall issue for like the health of the game?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's. I don't know whether it's because people don't know how to play it in a rank setting.
Well, there you go. There's the answer. I don't think people know how to play.
Blame.
I think it might be. But it's just not enjoyable in ranked, because not only do I not want to have to put in as much effort in ranked as I do in a team environment, where I'm I don't have to be telling everyone how to be playing the game themselves. I just want to kind of focus on myself, do my own thing.
Yeah.
But it's all ranked. I feel is just also not as fast paced in general. Everyone kind of just
Yes. Yeah, very much.
And I imagine Orisa, because you're so as a main tank, like when you're playing Orisa, you're so. If it's pretty much you're just a giant setup machine. Like you don't actually do anything. You're just like I'm setting up everyone else. And when you're in ranked, you want to have the agencies. Like you want to be the chat.
There is no one to set up. There is nobody to set up.
Yeah.
Billy 42 is not worth setting up. I'm sorry, Billy.
Wow. Disrespect on his name.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe
you'd say
it's unbelievable. If you were to put on your thinking cap and take the role of Jeff Kaplan himself, how would you change the game? Normally, I always kind of cop out and be like, oh, I'm an analyst, not a designer. But if you had to, or if you had the pleasure to change one thing about the game in order to make it better in either ranked or in pro, what change would you make and why?
Yeah. I'm a player. I'm not a designer. So, I don't really know. It's not really something I think about very often, because I know I don't have the power to do so. So I kind of just accept things as they are, and I think about how to work with the tools I have.
See, I'm not the one who use that excuse.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess just delete Orisa. I think Orisa's a lot of issues. I think she's a lot of issues.
I'm a big fan of that one. That's like from the makers of Delete Brig.
We bring you
Delete BAP. We have Delete Orisa.
This is gonna be a banging season.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering the fact that like we can't even get Assault gone, because we must have Assault in the map lineup. I don't think we're having any chance of Delete Orisa necessarily. I think that's quite impossible, perhaps.
Oh man,
it is a tragic time. But I feel like there have been the DPS lineup and even the support lineups have been so varied. But it feels like the tank meta in particular has always been so stagnant on average, because you're either playing Winston D.Va or Double Shield, and sometimes Ryan D.Va. There's always a very set tank meta. And as like a tank player, do you feel this is because of the fact there's just not a lot of choices, or that teams kind of just like figure out once in a while, oh, this is the ideal tank setup? And would it be okay if like we only had Winston D.Va? Would we be okay with Winston D.Va for the rest of time, or Ryan Zarya or something?
Yes.
I mean, there's always going to be people that will say but either yes or no to that. Like you're never going to please everyone. So although I would be one of those people that would be pleased with that. I don't know. I think it's just that each tank kind of does a very it fulfills a very special role that the other tanks don't. So you kind of absolutely need them for whatever that meta is, and there's not really an option to switch up too much.
So every week we do a mailbag question, and the mailbag question is what we just try and poll the viewers for their opinion on the ongoings of ranked and league and all these things. And last week we asked them about Genji and what they thought Genji, because of course we saw a ton of him in the showdown, and of course your team benefited from the success of agilities on that hero. But the question was, is Genji overtuned? And
oh my
I
god!
wanted to hear your opinion on the matter.
Did he the game of us versus Dallas before the remake happened on Gibraltar? Did you see? I got one shot by Genji, right? I was on 270 health. I jumped away from the first choke on Gibraltar defense, and he dashed into me, right clicked, and did 270 damage.
Damage boosted must have been.
No.
What?
He just one shot me with his dash. Like, he's so OP at the moment.
So
so
regardless
OP.
of the statistics here, so pretty much what I'm hearing from this is that you think Genji is a little bit overtuned right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Is that a bad thing, do you think? Do you think this falls into the argument again of Blizzard, which we've had this argument before. Blizzard does this classic shit every time where they're like, guys, if we just buff this character to infinity god levels of strong and never change anything else, then once the meta shifts, this character is like absurdly broken. Do you feel like Genji is currently in that category where they've just buffed a character way too hard because they don't know how to deal with the meta?
Kind of, yeah, but I think I'd rather see them take that route than nerfing everybody, you know? Like, as much as it pains me now to see Genji's no longer scared to take the 1v1s versus Winston, I would rather I'd rather it be that way than every character is a spaghetti noodle.
So you'd rather be like the Dota design of like, it's all busted.
Everything's broken,
exactly.
so nothing's broken.
Yeah. Someone said in chat, 1 dash plus 3 shurikens and a melee is 270.
If they're all 3 headshots.
Well.
And they because the buff they were.
Well.
Just turn your head.
Just turn your head.
What the fuck's wrong with you? I thought you were a pro.
Damn, I used
That was my second for the episode.
There we go.
Oh, no,
Just
I sure hope we have rollover.
So Genji, and your words are overtuned, but probably for the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I respect that.
I
respect
respect
that view.
Well, we're gonna go to the rest of the mailbag and see what the rest of chat had for answers. But
Actually, I want to hear Numlock's answer for the mailbag. Anyways, let's hear him give his input, if he has one for the mailbag.
What was the mailbag question again?
We just did.
No. For our C2A today.
Oh, well then go ahead.
Yeah, I want to because I think for this point we can talk about the mailbag later.
Yeah,
once
for sure.
So we generally give a question like we talked about earlier.
Yeah. So last week's question was Genji, but we haven't announced what this week's question is yet.
But now we're going to announce because I want to hear your opinion on it.
And chat, you can't be biased by Numlock's answer. So if any of you guys repeating Numlock's answer word for word,
then you're mindless sheeple.
Exactly. Don't be sheeple. Don't be Billy42 or Putis, whatever the hell you said.
Putis Pow 72.
Okay.
I mean, literally, I just picked Putis Pow with different numbers at the end. So
don't be that. Just don't be this.
Well, the question for this week and what I want to hear your opinion on, if you have one, you don't have to have an opinion right away, Numlock, by the way.
Okay.
You can just say like, I don't know, or I don't care to answer. Is we want to start asking, gauging, like, where do people start feeling for MVP or Rookie of the Year candidates?
Yeah, we've been avoiding the discussion so far, but next week, because we don't have an episode on Tuesday, we're back on Thursday, 5 p.m. Central, and we are really, really going to dive deep on this question. All the possible candidates, who we think, and at the end, we're going to be like, boom, this is who our candidates are for these positions. So be the first to throw your 2 cents into the hat. Who do you pick for MVP and Rookie of the Year?
For Rookie, at least, I'm stuck between either Sparkle or Fielder. I think Fielder might just snatch it just because of the situation and the circumstances he's playing under. I think that's insane. Like, as someone that is also playing on ping, like, it's really hard.
Yeah, it is impressive.
So,
and also on top of the terrible sleep schedule, too.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, yeah, I'm on, like, 1:40 and up to, like, 5 a.m., and his circumstances, they're even worse than that. So I think I definitely vote for him. For MVP, I don't really know who I'd go for just yet. Part of me wants to say, well, yeah, I don't really know. I don't think I have an opinion for MVP yet.
That's fine.
If you don't have one, do you have like a top 3? Just like who are potential candidates that come into your mind that you would start considering?
Not really that either. Like I want to throw out Fearless's name just because I think what he's done is really impressive. Maybe that's not like MVP candidate worthy, but I think that like
his storyline is so good.
Yeah, exactly. I love his storyline. I'm really happy for that.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. I mean, like, you don't have to. We can be as irrational as we want, you know. Honestly, like, you can say whatever the shit you want to say. It's like actually, I'm really feeling that Huck is the MVP for this year, right? Like, you could say whatever the hell you want to say. Like, it doesn't really matter. But at least it's based as a player. So yeah. I think it's very reasonable takes.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you sharing them with us.
And so we'll probably move on to finish the questions to the chat and everything like that. But that's really all. I mean, unless you have any more questions for Numlocked, I mean, I think he's done everything that we've asked.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you bringing the high energy. So, yeah.
We appreciate you being on Numlocked. We wish you good luck for the rest of the season. We hope the results continue. Give Brady a quick kiss on the forehead for me.
Tell him I say hi.
Yeah, tell Brady.
It might be hard from England.
Oh, I guess that could be true. Yeah, that could also be true. But either way, still send it digitally to Brady then, if that's the case, because when you talk to him. But we really appreciate you guys coming on. Hope your season goes well. Everyone chat, say goodbye to Numlocked. And
bye, chat.
Hopefully we have you on another time.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
See ya. Okay, so let's go through the answers from chat then. So we got his answer, the 270 damage.
Anyway. Apparently someone said it was 260, but even still, 260, 270. It's still a lot of fucking damage, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, you get sneezed on, you're going to dead. Or you could just do the EKO and you're like, After that, just finish them off with melees.
The Minecraft pickaxe animation.
You know what? I am a master sound effects man. Don't ask questions.
I was more guessing about the animation, not the sounds. Because it looked more like a Minecraft, like...
We play charades sometime. I swear I'll kick your ass.
Very aggressive charade.
Yeah. Do you think I take games anything less than 110% seriously?
That's true. It's not just a game.
No!
According to my man, Tyler Ninja Blevins. It's not just a game. That's a weak mindset.
No weak mindsets here.
A weak mindset.
Even if the game's charades.
Well,
all right. Okay. Okay. Well, let's see if our mailbag respondents have weak mindsets when it comes to Genji. The first one's from the YouTube comments. Matthew Warner says Genji is slightly overtuned. The damage buff is all that was needed to make him extremely strong because it has changed the breakpoints. Ding, ding.
There it is.
Adding that along with the deflect buff makes his survivability too strong, as with dash and dash resets along with the extended deflect. Only Rock, Brig, and like just Rock. That's a character.
Rock.
Rock.
I love Rock.
Brig, Moira, Zarya are the only heroes that can actually mess with him. These buffs turned him from a flanker into a brawl hero, which is fine, but his survivability is much, much higher than that of Echo and Doom, as they are both susceptible to stuns, while Genji really can only be Brig bashed, as Rock is extremely hard to cast in time. That being said, Brig still dunks all over Genji, as Brig is Shaq and Genji is Chris Paul. Nice. The Brig nerfs barely lower her power level. It only changes how people need to use her. She still enables DPS better than every support other than Mercy, with well-timed armor packs. Brig players just need to be aware of their DPS getting in engagements to be able to land the pack instead of pre-packing.
God, YouTube comments are so in-depth.
They're so
in-depth comparatively. I mean, I appreciate the effort.
We get essays all
But my God, the YouTube commenters are just going. They're running their dissertation on is Genji broken or not.
Yes, and it's it's every episode too. I love it. I do.
I mean, good. I
do love it.
But wow.
And it's not over yet. With her healing and peel, it's always the amount of spelling mistakes and grammar though that we have to correct live when we're reading these. Like, it is definitely.
I'm also illiterate.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I won't even know the difference.
Yeah. Peel, the only to remove her from the metas to brawl comps where Lucio will take over her on with a rework. Rip my Atlanta Rain. I am a sad boy. Well, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate the comment. Who did you have?
He takes a long break.
We're through that one.
So I have a lot of. People in my Discord were very, because if you're part of my Discord, I have a contested mailbag channel, and so we'll repost the questions there, and for everyone to answer, so I can scroll through them. So one of my favorite chatters, Joshin, actually.
Oh
Joshin.
my God, you're actually gonna.
Yeah, but it was a pretty good comment though. You know, as much as I like
Is
making fun
Josh even in chat?
I don't think he's in chat right now,
I
though.
haven't even seen him for today's episode.
I don't
Is
think
he
he's in
really
chat.
a fan?
No,
Is
that's
Josh
great
really
question.
a
Could be
fan?
a fake fan.
He's a fake fan.
But Joshin has this to say. I think we
Joshin,
should
you're a
let
fake
Genji...
fan. Get me on camera. Joshin, can we get a close up? Can we get a close up?
Is it possible?
Joshin? Josh.
Oh, he's getting up.
Joshin, you're a fake fan.
Okay, well,
I'm pretty sure that's
we'll let him know.
Yeah.
That's right, Joshin. Been called out. Been called out.
Imagine not being in chat and getting your question
Couldn't
read.
be me. Couldn't be me. Well, now reading the comments.
Oh yeah, they can't even hear it because my mic's on the table. I'm actually the dumbest person.
Oh, that's the best part of it too. Is that you just mouth.
I am the
I mean, it's almost more ominous.
It's like I was just doing
because they couldn't
ASMR. It's
I feel like it's more ominous because it's more. It's like the mimicking of like. You know, like you're just like saying.
we're just starting charades early.
Oh yeah, I gotta read the comment. I'm gonna read the comment.
Read the comment.
I think we should let Genji have his fun for a bit and see how he does in Overwatch League with the Brig nerfs. If he still remains strong, increase his ultimate cost. Genji's neutral has been bad for several years. I believe it's been fixed now. Dragon Blade itself doesn't really need a nerf in my opinion because it's still very easy to shut down. Side note, don't nerf Genji. I'm finally starting to gain SR after 2 years of not one-tricking Genji. Please, Blizzard, I want to reach GM.
No.
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 Oh, great.
Oh, hi, Joshin.
Great. And then the other ones is Odyssey. I was looking for more responses, and Odyssey posts a McChicken. And Odyssey says, yo, think Avast reads us memeing here on Contested and is disappointed. And then he says, we'll keep posting McChickens.
I like it how there's just like completely different styles of questions depending on the platform. Like YouTube's just like pulling out the textbooks and the reference manuals and writing their
they're bringing out the omnibus
and your Discord's like chicken nugget.
My Discord's like pee pee poo poo. I'm making memes. So
really a bastion of intellectual capacity over
good
there.
stuff. But I mean, honestly, the
Discord.
content of the comment itself from Josh and I felt was pretty fair. I felt like that was fair enough. It was, you know, strong and neutral game finally, not just an ult bot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with it.
Yep.
I'll let it run wild a bit. But now we must present our new mailbag question, which
you guys have no idea what the mailbag question is for this week. It is a complete secret, and I'd like to reveal that this week we're going to be asking you, drum roll please, who you think the Rookie of the Year and the MVP candidates are. I'm sure you're shocked to hear that that is this week's question. But like I said earlier, next week we really want to dive into that question because we have seen so much speculation around the community recently. So we're going to actually put some legwork in, make sure that we've got our eyes to the ground, and we're telling the picture of really who is the...
As they say, a picture paints at least 10 to 20 words.
Yep.
At least.
You're just the king of these analogies.
It's one of them.
Yeah.
It's one of those. 10, maybe 20. Depends
You
how big the
really
picture
are the
is.
intellectual leader of your Discord.
It's true. It's very true.
So let us know. If you're on YouTube, make sure you keep sending us those essays. If you're on Avast Discord, make sure you keep breathing. I understand that you have to
You're gonna
maintain
remind
conscious
them to
effort
breathe.
about that. Hey, man. You know, it's like... Yeah.
Like everyone there just forgets to breathe.
Yeah, you don't want to distract anybody in your Discord, or else they're just going to forget. It's like in, out. You know, if they lose track, they're just going to fall over
while they're writing it.
Yeah.
So, and ideally, you submit them like as two separate entities. So, like in your post, you'll write MVP and then Rookie of the Year. If you don't have answers for both, that's fine.
And we want justifications. We don't just want hashtags and talking points.
Yeah, we would like to at least write something there. Not just the player
original
names.
research, good arguments. I want to see it. Unless you're on a vast Discord, then you're exempt from thinking.
You are.
Yeah,
You have
absolutely.
a thinking exempt card. It's a medical exception. It's very true. It's very true. Well,
Is it causation or correlation?
I think it's something else entirely myself.
No.
I think it's something else entirely. We do here in the Avast Discord, when we're taking breaks between games, we always have the lead paint chip buffet. And we got, we have all sorts of stuff going on over there. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for watching this Thursday episode of Contested. We will be back next Thursday. Of course, we are taking next Tuesday off because no games this weekend, so there's nothing to review on Tuesday. So we'll see you on Thursday at 5 p.m. Central. If you are watching on Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you are listening to this after the fact on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you could do us a big help, if you do enjoy the podcast, or the show, I guess, make sure you rate us 5 stars on podcast platforms, and do us a big favor by subscribing to the YouTube channel. We would very much appreciate it. We've been growing quite a bit recently. The chat has been active, so especially with the new skits, we'll have a new guest.
And we have more good skits planned.
Don't worry, just because we're not live on Tuesday, that means we're still using that time
in the laboratory.
Yeah, so we appreciate your guys' support. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll be back next Thursday. Who am I again?
You or Jane?
Okay, I'm Jane. This is
Dumb.
Yeah. Bye.
That's it.
That's it.
Contested.
That's the show.
Bye.
Bye.
See you Thursday.